This is Bill Corter with one question for today's presentation. Do you really know who you are? Now, as a physician who presents on toxicity of the world and who discusses the various toxins that really wreak chaos with our life and with our health, that's an unusual question to ask. But I do think it's an important question, because when you don't know who you are, your life turns off course. And when it turns off course, that's when you hit so much toxicity. And let me explain. I'm going to refer one more time to Wayne Dyer, who I've previously mentioned. But when Wayne Dyer was in college and studying psychology, he had a final exam in psychology. And he went into the final exam expecting the usual. Some multiple choice questions, yes or no. Some maybe short answer essays, and maybe one or two longer essays. But when he opened his test, what he got was a single question and 3 hours to answer that question. And the question was, who are you? But the ringer was you could not use any demographics. You couldn't say your sex, your age, where you were born, where you went to school. You couldn't mention your religion. You couldn't mention your ethnic group. You couldn't mention anything, not any accomplishments, not any acclaims. You had to talk about who you were as a person. And that means really scraping away the superficial and really focusing on your values. And then to answer the question, you had to describe, basically, you're left with what are your beliefs? What are your values? What are your dreams? What type of person are you? Are you a giver or taker? Are you a contributor or a consumer? Are you a lover or a hater? Are you positive or negative? All of these components that really capture your character, that's what you had to describe in the answer to that question. And that's something that I would recommend for a habit for a lot of people. And it's to take a break from life. Take a break from your job. And on a regular, frequent basis. And I'm not referring to vacations. I strongly support getting away from work and getting to the beach for a vacation or getting to the mountains for vacation. But every now and then, I think everybody needs to take a little respite. Maybe a 3-day weekend where you go off by yourself and you reevaluate who you are and you reevaluate your career and you see if they're aligned correctly. Stephen Covey was another very successful self-help author who wrote about the habits of successful, happy people. And he had one metaphor that he used repetitively, and that is going through life is like building a ladder, leaning the ladder against the wall, and then slowly climbing that ladder one step at a time. That's the root of most people's careers. That is another type of conveyor belt, climbing that ladder. But he emphasized the reality that 95% of people are dissatisfied with their career, with their job. Only 5% end up being truly delighted with their work and passionate about their work. And his perspective was the following, that too many people put their ladder against the wrong wall. And the wrong wall it could be a company. It could be a corporation. It could be a specific type of career, whether a physician, a lawyer, an engineer. Could be any type of career. But the question that you have to ask yourself as you move up the ladder, does the values and beliefs and the characteristics of that career match your own? When you have a match, that's when you're happy. When you don't have a match, and it becomes progressively clear the higher up you go in your career, the least satisfied you are. So that's my recommendation for this presentation. Take breaks from your work. Step back and look at who you are, and take a look at your career, and then decide whether you need to make changes. If you need to make changes, there are a multitude of books, a multitude of blogs on the internet that will give you suggestions for redesigning your life, redesigning your world, redesigning yourself. And there are suggestions that involve the habits that we've discussed on these videos. There's the suggestions or the habits that I write about in my blogs, both on Boomer Health Institute and Dr. Bill Corder. But they're suggestions that can make our lives better. And that is my goal, and I hope you'll incorporate and let that be one of your goals. Let's make our lives better by incorporating these tiny habits that let us pause, reflect, change, and grow. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for sharing in this process. And as always, let's learn together and become better people together. Thank you.